the chair of the Arts, Culture, and Special Events Committee. I am joined this afternoon by my colleagues. To my left, Councillor Ed Flynn, and to my right, Councillor Frank Baker. I want to remind everyone in the chamber that this is a public hearing and that it is being recorded live. You can watch it on television or on your computer or on your phone. For folks who are here in the audience, if you would please silence your cell phones and your other devices, that would be great. We will open up the hearing for public testimony. Should someone want to speak, please just sign up over there. You want to list your name and affiliation if you are testifying. Today's hearing is docket 1185. The matter is sponsored by the mayor. It was referred to the Committee on the Arts, Culture, and Special Events Committee on August 21st of this year. I'm going to read the docket into the official record. So it's docket 1185, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept a donation of a sculpture from the Boston Properties Prue Center Acquisition, LLC. The sculpture is appraised at $360,000. The sculpture is described as follows: Quest Eternal by Donald DeLue. The sculpture is approximately 27 feet in height and is made of bronze. And so we're here to discuss accepting the sculpture as a gift and where it would be placed. I'm going to open up the hearing with a panel from the city. If you would each introduce yourselves and just make your opening comments, I hope that we can move through the hearing pretty quickly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cara Elliott Ortega. I'm the Chief of Arts and Culture. And I'm actually going to ask Tricia, our Public Art Collections Manager, to give an overview of this project.
So my name is Tricia Gilrain. I'm the Art Collections Manager for the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. I work with the Boston Art Commission. This sculpture, we're being asked for the approval for accept and expend. It will be sited at Smithfield. Kathy Baker Eclipse joins us. She's the project manager for that park siting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Does anyone else on the panel want to add anything before we...
I'm Kathy Baker Eclipse. I'm with the Parks Department. I'm the project manager for the Phase 1 implementation of the master plan at Smith, which is where the sculpture is going to be sited.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Sara Rodrigo, the Public Art Project Manager for the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. I'm here in case there are any additional questions about public art.
Wonderful, wonderful. I have a few. We've been joined by my colleague, Councillor Anissa Asabi George. I have a few questions, and then I will turn it over to my colleagues. And again, I hope that we can wrap up pretty quickly. So for me, some folks know that I spent a lot of my childhood in the South End, and the Prudential Center was really our playground. And the Prudential, back when I was a kid, looks nothing like it looks now. The building looks the same, but in terms of the mall and all of the stores, I think at this time there was a Brigham's in there was the post office, there was the Catholic Church. Maybe there was like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Ground Round. No, a Ground Round. There was a Ground Round, and that was pretty much it. But we played there because the escalators were there. The Christian Science was close by. We played in the sprinklers.
Just on the escalators.
Right, we did. We just go up and down. But what was always there was the big statue, the big naked man statue up front. One day, he has a name. I see, yes. His name is Quest Eternal? Yes. Quest Eternal, but we didn't know that as kids, or even as adults. One day, literally, as an adult, I noticed there was construction happening and the statue was gone, and it literally hit me like someone punched me in the stomach because I just didn't know what had happened to kind of this figure that was such an important piece of my childhood, and for others who spent a lot of time in the South End in that area. So it is to accept the gift of this statue, the big statue that has a name, that has disappeared. Now we know what happened to it. It's being gifted to the City of Boston and placed in a park.
Yes.
Did I understand correctly? Now, how do we decide as a city where to place such a statue? My memory of so when FAO Swartz on Newbury Street closed, there was a big teddy bear statue. It had the ABC blocks. I remember at that time there being this public discussion around who should get the big teddy bear. And I think the finalists were the Children's Hospital, obviously Tufts Medical, which has it, or New England Medical, I'm not sure what they call it now. New England Medical, but now it's Tufts. And I think there might have been a third person. Was there a similar process to determine who should receive this statue? Like, so I remember a big public discussion around where should the FAO teddy bear statue go. Was there a similar discussion for this, for the Quest Eternal?
Do you want to talk about was there conversations with Boston Properties before it came to the Parks Department?
So my understanding, because this is a conversation that's been going on for a couple of
Yeah, several
years
years.
at least, is that due to the height and subject matter of this statue, finding a place that could receive it well and where there was enough space and kind of infrastructure and where it made sense was a little bit of a tough question. We've been looking for a site internally where this could fit into a city project for a couple of years.
And what do you mean subject matter? Because it's not clothed? What do you
Well,
mean?
just because it's not, if we were going to go commission a piece of public art now for a park in an area where we want public art, we probably wouldn't wind up with that sculpture. So I think just trying to figure out where that could fit into a construction process or something ongoing, where there's a planning process was a question. And that's when Smithfield came up in the conversation.
Through discussions with the Parks Department and the Arts Commission, a question was raised about whether there's a site for this piece of sculpture. So Smith was among a short list of projects that was identified of appropriate size for the setting of the sculpture, because it is 27 feet tall, and one that would be in reasonable thematic, have a thematic relationship to the sculpture, and the site would work together. And would also be constructed in a reasonably short period of time so that the storage wasn't indefinite, so that we had an end date. So Smith was one that kind of risen to the top of the list because we were undergoing construction. We were in the middle of a community process at the time. And as primarily an athletic facility with some new passive areas going in for the community, it was seen as being related to that athletic program that's existing at the site.
And where is the statue stored now? Right now, it's not the responsibility of the city because we haven't received it, so we're not storing it, right?
We're not paying for the storage, correct. It is being stored in South Boston at a crane facility.
Right, but once the city council passes this, it will become ours, and then we'll be responsible for storing it?
We plan on installing it probably before the end of the month, assuming this all goes forward.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
So there will not be any cost
won't
to
be
the
any
city in
costs,
terms of
yeah.
storage or not
Yeah.
significant costs?
Yeah.
And
in terms of
Boston
storage.
Properties is also contributing some amount of money to the maintenance.
$15,000, which will cover transport to the site and some maintenance that's required for the statue.
Yeah. Who does the ongoing maintenance? That will now become the city of Boston. What's the estimated or projected cost of ongoing maintenance of a statue of this size?
I don't have those numbers right now, but I can follow up with that.
It would be similar, I would imagine, to the Harriet Tubman statue also in the south end. I think is bronze and maybe similar, well, actually probably not as big as
Yeah,
this
it's
one.
not as tall.
Right, this one is
Yeah,
really
it's very
big.
tall.
This one's really big. So we'll be able to kind of figure that out, and it would just kind of become part of our portfolio of what we do in terms of our public art and maintaining and
Absolutely.
preserving public art.
And there is plans after the piece is installed to have it cleaned and re-waxed and repatinated so that it's starting off in really pristine condition.
Yeah. You mentioned the community process in terms of the redesign of the park in question. Can you talk about the community engagement piece and how residents in that particular area in Alston feel about receiving the statue?
So through our community process, a public art component was identified as desirable, and we didn't really have an idea of exactly what that would be. So through that community process, public art was brought up as a desired feature. And that was at the same time that we were being approached with this offer of this public art. So we had a community meeting where we presented the proposal of placing the Quest Eternal sculpture at the corner of South Campus Drive and Western Ave at the new entrance. So we showed it in elevation, and we showed it in plan, and how it would relate to the fields beyond, and it has a very long vista behind it with the green multi-purpose fields behind it, and then eventually phase 2 as well. And that was really well received in terms of, it's an opportunity to have art, have kind of instant art without going through what can sometimes be a pretty lengthy and involved community process, and really as an impetus to continue a public art program eventually throughout Smith Park.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to open it up to my colleagues for questions. We'll start with Councillor Baker.
Thank you. So Smithfield is where?
It's on 235 Western Ave in Alston.
Okay. And what did the Parks Department need to do to be able to land the statue? Is it just going on like a concrete slab, or is it a pestle?
There's a large concrete foundation, and then there are precast pieces that fit around the base, so it's even elevated a little bit above that 27-foot elevation.
Okay. I'm good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Councillor George.
I don't actually have any questions. I have found this hearing both amusing and informative, and I've really appreciated the difficulty around the conversation about the description of this
statue.
And there's
statue.
nothing, there's a very gracefully laid cloth.
No, I'm actually amused by it, but I will just make a comment. My birthday is in December, and for me as a child, the Christmas tree at the Prudential near the statue was always sort of the place that we went. So I appreciate Councillor Janey's emotional attachment to it, and I think we'll both probably attend the ceremony revealing it, all of it, to the public when we do that at Smithfield. But I actually found this very informative about how we manage our assets and gifts and all that. So thank you for being here.
Yes, I found it very informative as well in terms of how we manage all of that, but also just in terms of whatever happened to it, because I really was devastated when I looked up one day and there was a new construction happening with a new building and the statue was gone. And I don't remember seeing anything talking about it, like in the newspaper or anything. So I'm glad that it has found a home, that it's going to be well received in Alston. I kind of like a process where there is more of a process where we could have had the opportunity to say, where's the best placement, who's ready to receive it. I'm glad that people in Alston were ready for it, but I think moving forward, I do kind of like a more robust community process. But that being said, I think all of my questions have been answered, and I want to give my colleagues or the panel an opportunity for any closing.
I think the comment about community process is really well taken. The Art Commission is in the middle of updating its policies around accepting public art, what kinds of process things have to go through for the Present for Art program, but also for memorials and other things like that. So I think adding this, looking at our donation policy again and thinking about public process in that is definitely something that we can do. And it's kind of interesting because I think we're going to see more and more private companies that own public art trying to figure out how to get rid of those assets because they're looking more at temporary. They don't want to own this stuff anymore. So it's kind of an interesting thing that we might see more of.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for the work that you do. Not seeing anyone signed up for testimony, we will adjourn this hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is docket 1185 for the record. Thank you.